The Nazis started World War II, and the first city they came into was my town, Pietrka. I was 3.5 years old, and I had two brothers, no sisters. One was probably 8.5, and the other one was 9.5. And planes started coming in. The army came in marching with their boots. The Polish army was not ready. People started running all around. My mother took us down to the basement where they had potatoes and things waiting for us, waiting for this to come over. Well, the Polish people were not prepared, but the Jewish people who lived in the Jewish section, just like you have Jewish sections in Johannesburg and every other city in the world probably, the Nazis put a barbed wire fence around the section which was Jewish, and that was known as the ghetto. And Jews were not allowed to leave there. And then a little bit later, Jews outside of the ghetto, in communities or little Städtlach, little cities, were not allowed to live there. So they were brought into the ghetto. And no matter how nice your homes are in South Africa, if 4 and 5 and 6 families come in, you can imagine it got very crowded. There wasn't enough food. People were starving. There wasn't enough heat. And Poland is a very cold country. There wasn't enough medicine. People were dying. But they weren't dying fast enough for the Nazis. Early on, they came in. They took my father and my uncle to a slave labor factory where they made glass, a man's factory, not far away from Pietrka. And you were lucky if you were taken to work, because if you would work, maybe the Nazis wouldn't kill you. There were rumors flying that the Nazis had gas chambers and they were shooting people and they were throwing babies out. Nobody wanted to believe these rumors. Germans were sophisticated, cultured, educated people. Would they actually put people in gas chambers? Unfortunately, we found out that all those rumors were true. I remained in the house with my mother and my 2 brothers. One night, in the middle of the night, they came banging down at the door. Germans and Ukrainian soldiers came in and started yelling, "Raus, raus! We've got 10 minutes. 10 minutes to pack up the most precious things that you have and run down these stairs." Now, think very fast. What would you take in 10 minutes? Many people think of taking pictures, and I think that's very important. If you look at my house, I have lots of pictures, none before the age of 10. But after the age of 10, when I was adopted in America, I have lots of pictures and they mean a great deal to me. But I think what you should take is your passports, so you can prove who you are. If you have money, if you have jewelry, that you could buy bread for them, which is what my mother did when we were in the ghetto. Maybe you should carry the baby down the stairs, or the old grandmother like me who needs help going down. You have to think very quickly. People took whatever they could, and we were brought into a very big square. All the houses are built around squares. Mm-hmm. And 2,000 people had been brought out of the ghetto. And we were marched. People were crying. People were holding on to each other. From this big square, we were chased. And like animals, one after another, just running until we got to the synagogue. They couldn't get 2,000 people into this big room. So whoever couldn't go in was taken into the forest, made a big, big hole, and they were shot into the forest. I remained in this room with my mother and my brothers. I can't remember. I have a lot of documents, but I don't have any documents to prove this. But any of you who are mothers or sisters or have little children near you, I think a 6-year-old probably would have been holding on tightly to her mother. Mm. I think my mother would have been holding on to me and to my brothers and maybe hiding me. I don't know how this happened. I don't know how it happened, but it happened. Behind that door that I showed you, there was a man, and he beckoned to me and he said, "Run, run." He must have been very stupid, very naive, maybe brave. I can't explain how a child would run away from her mother. I can't imagine how a mother would have let her run away. You're a mother. Would you let your child go away? You'd probably be holding her even closer. My mother let go of me. Maybe she pushed me. Maybe God pushed me. I don't know how it happened. I ran out. That was the last time I saw my mother and my brothers and the rest of all those people. They were put onto those cattle cars and taken to one of the extermination camps, Treblinka. When they got there, they had to get undressed, their hair was cut, and they were put into these chambers. They heard screaming. When the screaming stopped, other Jewish slaves pulled out the bodies, and the rest of the people went in until they got all of them. This man who told me to run, I had no idea what was happening, but he picked me up and we ran a long time until we got to my father, who was working in a slave labor factory for the Nazis. Men, just men. My father saw me. He kissed me. He was delighted to see me. But what's he going to do with a little girl with all these men? The men helped me. They tried to hide me. They put me under their blankets at night, the ones who had blankets. They put me behind ovens. But one day my father said, listen, we have a talk. From now on, you're not a little girl anymore. You're a boy. Your name isn't Fredel or Fredja. It's Freud. And you're not 6 years old. You're 10 years old. Because girls were useless. Boys under the age of 10 didn't have much need for them either. But boys over the 10 could work. From now on, remember, I'm a boy, my name is Froyam. I'm a boy, my name is Froyam, and I'm 10 years old. The men helped me. People always helped me. And there were dogs, big German Shepherd dogs. And every time they would take a bite out of somebody, you just had to be lucky not to be bitten by them. There wasn't enough. It was a terrible situation. But the men guarded me. But one day, the Allies, Americans, British, and Russians were getting close. The Nazis wanted to keep everything quiet. They wanted to be secret. They deceived you all the time. They never said to the Jews, we're taking you to kill you. We're taking you in front of graves. We're taking you. It was always relocation or different things like that. And they put us on these cattle cars. They're called cattle cars because that's what it was meant for, cattle and for lumber. As cows and horses were sent. But here, 80 to 100 people were brought into these. When the trains were packed full, the doors were clammed shut. And sometimes it could take 2 or 3 days. Nothing to eat, nothing to drink, and no toilet. And even if you don't eat and drink, you need to go to a bathroom. So you can imagine, people soiled themselves, people cried, people went crazy. I don't know how anybody remained alive. But finally we crossed from Poland to Germany. And we had to, the doors were open, we had to jump down. There were no ramps on those trains. Animals have ramps. And we used the snow to eat it. And we used the snow to drink it. We were so hungry and famished. And there was light from the heavens. There was light in the sky. It was pitch black in those cars. And we looked around to see who we recognized. And while we were getting used to this, I was with my uncle and with my father and the other men. But there were women who came from different camps. And the Nazis made an announcement. You're being taken to camps. Men on one side, women on the other. Now, my father realized that when you go into a camp, you have to get undressed. And if I would get undressed, they would see I'm not one of the men, I'm not one of the boys. They would kill me. They would kill him and anybody who tried to help me. He met a school teacher, and he asked her whether she would keep an eye on me. He gave me a picture of my mother, my father, and my brothers. Pictures are very important. I was holding back, and he promised the war will be over and he will meet me in our hometown in Pietrzyca. Just remember, the war will be over, the Allies are coming, we will meet again. He promised. He didn't keep his promise. Fathers are supposed to keep their promises. I never saw him again.
Rena, those precious photographs that you had, that your father gave you to take in, what happened?
It was a photograph of my whole family. When we had to get undressed to go into the showers in Bergen-Belsen, we had to take everything off. I was holding on to my picture. One of the soldiers thought maybe it was a diamond, maybe it was money, maybe it was something valuable. He pried up my hand. He saw there was a picture, tore it up and threw it away. For him, it was garbage. For me, what do I look? Do I look like my mother, my father? Do my children look like anybody in the family? The color of my grandchildren's hair, many of them are very blonde. Did any of my mother, my father, my brothers, I have no idea the color of their eyes, the color, what they were tall, short, nothing. That picture would have meant a lot to me, but it was taken away from me. As I don't know what else I had. Everything was taken away from us. After the showers, every 5 or 6 women, would get a blanket to cover themselves. I slept on the stone floor with hay, with lice and fleas and feces and every kind of dirt. There used to be bunks, like 3-tiered bunks. These women would get a blanket. Every day in Bergen-Belsen, hundreds of people died. The women would take their blanket, put a body someplace into the blanket, and throw the body someplace out on the vast expanse of Bergen-Belsen. Every place that you went to, you would find these bodies. In Auschwitz, you would smell gas. In Majdanek, you would smell gas. In Bergen-Belsen, you smelled death. And it got to be normal and natural because they never cleaned it up. The bodies just kept on piling up. And somehow or other, it was better being out even in the cold than staying in these terrible barracks with so much infectious diseases and the lice and the fleas being at you all the time. Something happened that day that never happened before. Soldiers came in, speaking a different language, wearing different uniforms, and with loudspeakers they made an announcement. We are the British Army. We have come to free you. You're free. You can go home. Go home. Do whatever you want. You're free. What do I want to do? First of all, I can't move because typhus is the kind of thing where you can't see. You've got confusion and it's terrible. I also don't understand what they're saying. The mother I had disappeared. The British had a hard time. They put me on a stretcher. They tried to feed people. They gave them the wrong food. People who haven't eaten for a long time can't have a chocolate bar or a sandwich or a piece of bread even gobbling it down. 14,000 people died after the war. And then the British realized that they have to be very careful and give them a diet that was sensible. Anyway, luck is starting to be really very much on my side. And Sweden had not been at war with Germany, and they invited 6,000 people to come to Sweden. I was one of them. I met a woman, Anna Philipsdal. She had a son, Sigmund Philipsdal, and Fanny. Fanny was 9.5 years old. Her brother in the United States sent her 3 tickets and money and certificates and everything she needed to go to the United States. I was waiting to go to Palestine. While we were waiting, this little girl, Fanny, died. Anna, her mother, had tickets and all the proper papers, and I had the luck. And she asked me whether I'd like to be her daughter and come with her to America. And everybody said how lucky I was, and I should go to America. And from there, I could always go to Palestine to meet my parents. Anna became my mother. I got the name of this little girl. Now my name is Fanny, but by now you know my name kept on changing, and it was normal. I thought everybody's name changed, and I got a passport. I got a birthday. In 1981, I was married. I married a wonderful man. In 1989, Yad Vashem had a trip to Poland. I didn't want to go. I was terrified of going. My husband encouraged me. He says, let's go. It turned out to be amazing because I found my real birth certificate. Now, it was very hard to find it because I was born in 35. But Fanny, what I celebrated yesterday, what's in my passport was 36. So it was very hard finding it. But we went into the city hall. I had a guide, and she went through all of 36. She didn't find her. 37, went back to 35, and she found it. I found my house. I found my parents' marriage license, my brother's birth certificates. I found all the things that I told you about. But after I came back, Yad Vashem asked me to testify, to speak to people. And since 89, I started doing that. And now I get to meet many, many interesting people, many actors and actresses and athletes. And one of the people that I met, whom everybody recognizes, and you can see he's smiling, wearing a kippah.
And that, of course, is
President Biden, the President of the United States. And I have a picture to show you that he is giving me a kiss.
Aha.
People said, how would your husband feel about that? I said, he'd be so proud that all these strange men want to talk to me and give me a kiss on the cheek.
Rena, you are a woman of courage, a woman of faith, and a woman of inspiration. And thank you again for sharing your story with the people of South Africa. It's such an inspiration for us particularly during these really difficult times, to hear your words of real hope.
There's hope.
Hope.
Everybody never, ever give up.
Hope. And this is a book that Rena has written, a daughter of many mothers. And it's available on Amazon. And I really would encourage as many people to read this book and to learn from your real resilience and your messages, as you say, of hope. Thank you, Rena.
Thank you.